How are we all? Good. So it's a lovely lazy Saturday here in the Charente, and I decided to do something that I actually do all the time but I don't share with you. I don't know why, but what I thought was I would do or share some hacks with you so that all the patterns that I make can be more versatile. So the first one that I worked on today, and I don't know how quickly I'm going to do these because they do take some time, so it just be naturally in and amongst things, because I'm right in the thick of summer at the moment and doing all of the French sewing retreats, so it's not always easy to find time, but it is a time that I find actually very inspiring. One, you kind of start to think about the dresses, tops, etc. that you want to wear in this heat, but I also get to speak to lots of lovely people. So some of the comments that I hear is how they love the fit of the bodice, etc. of my patterns, and could I just design this and could I just design that. Now I wish I had the time and the ability to just design this, that and the other, but I kind of got me thinking. So I made this top today. Hopefully you can see it there. It's just a lovely little peplum top, really simple. And you probably don't recognise it, but it's actually a hack of the Serene dress. So basically I have used the bodice, I've added a small peplum to the bottom, and I've changed the sleeves. So the Serene sleeves have these lovely voluminous detail to them, but later on in the video I'll explain how we've created just a lovely little cap sleeve. So it shows you how to decrease that volume if you want to. You could also do this top with those voluminous sleeves. I'm going to pop into the house and pop another top on for you. Essentially it's exactly the same as this, but I didn't change the sleeve, but I equally didn't put the binding on the bottom, so it's very wide. I'm a bit worried I might dip it into things, but the effect looks great. But it just goes to show that you can change something beyond recognition if you've got something that you like the fit of. So just a little bit about this that I don't think I captured in the videos when I made it. We've had to bias bind the neckline, mainly because I didn't want to line this because it's lovely and sunny here, so I don't want that extra. You could line this and follow the Serene dress instructions to a T and fully line it. I haven't done the detail of the Serene on the back, it's just I did it on the fold instead, but again you can follow it exactly as it is in the video. I have to say I've had this on maybe 3-4 hours now. I absolutely love it. Maybe I should release it as a pattern. It actually feels wrong to release things as a pattern when I've based it on something that's existed, so I'm going to share it with you anyway. I'm kind of rambling. Gonna put some different video slides in. I'll put the Serene dress in here as a picture so that you actually know what it's been converted from, and I'll take some stills of this as well. But yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully either inspires you to make more of your Serene dress pattern, or it makes you want to change patterns that you already love. Okay, hope you enjoy. So this is the Serene dress straight out of the packet. As you can see, it looks entirely different, but all we've done is use the bodice and change the sleeves slightly. So this is the other version. So the bodice is exactly the same, but these are the original Serene dress sleeves. They're just not gathered up to create that detail. I actually quite like them like this, although I am maybe slightly worried I'm gonna, as I said, dip them into it, but I can always change that. But this was a happy accident. You might recognize the fabric. It was fabric that I made a jumpsuit from, and it was just the leftover bits, and I was just playing around. But yeah, a lovely happy accident that I am definitely gonna wear as well. So hopefully you will enjoy learning how to mend sleeves, how to change things up a bit. As I've said, you could probably take this peplum all the way down and it would be a really lovely breezy dress to wear, certainly if the weather's as nice as it is here. Okay, enjoy, Any questions, pop it in the comments and let me know what you think. See you later. Okay, so what you have here is the Serene dress sleeve head. So I've traced it out and I've taken off the seam allowance. Now, whenever you're manipulating patterns, you need to take off the seam allowance. So this is essentially the stitch line that you can see, and I'll explain why we do that. So what I'm trying to do is to reduce that flare and that width that the Serene shirt has. So I've cut it out and I've only made it as long as I want it here. So I've gone 4 centimeters. That's from the underarm to the hemline. So remember, there's no seam allowance there, so it's just the hemline, and that's what you've got in front of you. I've also transferred the notches as well, because they'll be important when we start to put it together. I then measured across the hem, and it measured from memory, hang on, sorry, I don't want to take this off because that's why I've got that on there, because I've already cut it. So let's have a look. So it measured just about 50 centimeters, and I then measured with the tape measure around my bicep and added a little bit of ease that I was happy with, and I came up with a figure of about 47-ish. Felt really nice. So I essentially want to reduce 3 centimeters in this width. Now I could just take it off the end, but I would get a really weird shaped sleeve at the end, so it would come in like that, which would just look really odd. So what I need to do is to think about how this was created, and this sleeve initially was created, and I can tell you this because I designed it, was I slashed and spread. So I equally put slashes down the existing straight sleeve and I spread it out. So what we need to do now is to bring it back in. Now I know I need to lose about 3 centimeters across here. So just so that I've spread it equally, I've created 3 slash points. Okay, so I did that by taking the full width, dividing it by 4, marking them along the bottom, and then going straight up at 90 degrees to these points here. And what I've done, the reason I've still got the ruler here, is I've then cut from the hem just up to this line. So they're still attached, but I can move them and overlap them. So that's where we're at. So let me take this off so you can see. So hopefully you can see where I've slashed it to. And hopefully you can see there, look, they're still attached, only by a little bit. Now, just to make life easier, I'm going to just mark on the centimetres that I want to overlap. So I'm going to take this piece here and mark 1 centimetre. I'm going to do the same here and then the same here. Okay. Hopefully my head wasn't in your way. You'd have seen my head wrap if that was the case. Get some tape ready. So I'm going to start. It doesn't matter where I start, but I'm going to just see. If I wanted it wider, I would be spreading, but we actually want it narrower. So I'm just going to overlap, keeping everything flat, and we'll put some tape. I'm going to do exactly the same with the next one. And I will do the same with the next one, but I just want to explain to you why we're using the stitch line. Can you imagine if I'd have got my seam allowance up, sorry, the shadow, up here, exaggerated, and I then opened it, the stitch line would be about here. So can you see I've opened up the stitch line? So I've made that line that I have to stitch, I've actually changed the dimension of it. So what I've done here, because I've overlapped, if you imagine, let me just draw it on. If you imagine, it's not, but imagine that that's where this stitch line is. And that stitch line matches perfectly with the armhole. So we don't want to change that at all. So imagine if I did this using the seam allowance and I overlapped. I'm actually reducing the length of this stitch line or increasing it, which is easier to see on the camera, I think. Increasing it, so then the sleeve won't fit in. So that's why we take these things off. Okay, so I'm going to just stitch that over. Now, because of this style of sleeve, you remember it's got that lovely shape to the bottom. You can see that this is creating a curve. I quite like a curve because it gives you a really nice fit on the body, so I'm going to keep that. If you don't want a curve, you can then simply add that on across there. So just draw a line from edge to edge. Once you've done that, I would stick this down on another piece of paper. This isn't quite wide enough. I would just simply stick it down, and I would then add the seam allowance all the way around. So normally a seam allowance is 1.5 centimetres. You may want to go 2 centimetres at your hem, but if you add all of your seam allowances, and can you see where there's a few little, I don't know, they're not exaggerated points, but can you see the curve isn't quite as smooth? So this is where you can use your license, your artistic license, and just smooth these curves out. But that will mean that this creates a really lovely little capped sleeve for me. And it will fit, because we've not changed anything to do this with the stitch line. It will fit perfectly onto the Serene dress bodice. Sorry, my words are not coming today. So that is all I'm going to do, and then when I make up the top, I'm going to add this sleeve. I'm going to keep the bodice exactly as it is, and then I'm going to add a peplum at the bottom. So when I get to the peplum point, I'll explain to you how I've done that. The other thing that I've done is I've cut the back on the fold, so there's no seam. You can keep the seam if you want it. You just simply stitch as you would do for the regular Serene dress. Obviously this is not lined, so you may want to pop onto the tutorial. If you do leave like a keyhole detail, you may want to pop onto the Vienne dress tutorial, because it'll show you how to finish the seams at that point. And then I promised I was going to talk to you about the peplum. So the peplum that I've just done, a small peplum, it's 20 centimetres, and that is including a seam allowance here and here. So the actual peplum will be 17 centimetres deep. That's the one that I'm doing. You can obviously make this any kind of dimension. You could probably take it all the way down and make it into a dress if you wanted to just a different type of dress. And then in terms of length, I actually just went straight across the fabric, so it's about 150 centimetres long. In terms of a ratio, let me just measure. Sorry, I should have done that. So the peplum, I just did straight across the width of the fabric, so it's about 150, which compared to the actual circumference of the waist of the bodice when it's made up, it's probably 1.5 times the length, just so that you can see sort of how much gather. You can obviously make more gather, you can do less gather, that's completely up to you, and it may be dictated by how much fabric that you have, but essentially you need something that's as long as you want. If you want it to look like mine in terms of the amount of gather, you want 1.5 times what the circumference of the waist of the bodice is. Okay, I hope that makes sense. I hope you enjoyed that. So just to recap, it's the Serene dress pattern. We've cut the bodice on the fold. We haven't lined it, so we've bias bound the neckline. We've amended the sleeves on this white one, but we didn't amend anything on this version with the sleeves. We just didn't add the bias binding, and we added a little peplum. So you've got 2 completely different tops from a pattern that you already own. Hope you enjoy. Bye.